Families take on a lot of different constellations. Sometimes a step-parent ends up wondering, what's my role? I'm kind of funny this way, but I really like to identify what's not my job if I'm trying to figure out what my job is. So let's talk about that first, and then we'll get to some things that will help you to establish yourself as a more effective step-parent. What's not my job? It's not my job to replace anyone or anything. This is where we get into trouble sometimes. I did child custody evaluations for the court for about 13 years in my practice. I've seen a lot of situations where there's such bitterness and anger and animosity against this step-parent because she's trying to replace my mom. He thinks that he's taken over the position for my dad. It's not your job to replace anyone. Kids already have a mom, don't they? Well, then what's your role? Don't worry, we'll get to that in just a minute. Your role is not to replace anyone. Is that a little bit of a relief? I hope that comes as a relief. You'll notice that in families, we take on different roles, different purposes, and it's really normal in a normal family, whatever that is, for one parent to be a little more focused on discipline, for the other parent to be a little more focused on the love and the nurturing. Yeah, that's pretty common. As a step-parent, it's not your role to take over one of those positions. You're naturally going to create a new family dynamic, but it's not your role to be the disciplinarian. I picked that particular role because as a step-parent, that creates some predictable difficulties if you step in and try to provide the discipline. Now, you can provide the discipline appropriately. We're going to get to that. But it's not your role to become the disciplinarian or the nurturer or whatever the role is. You don't have to assume that that's already predetermined. Now, here's another one, and I know that you've probably encountered this because there are some messes, aren't there? Yeah, it's not your job to clean up the mess or to fix whatever somebody else broke. Let that settle in for a moment. It's not your job. You're not the mop-up person. You're not here to fix or correct or repair. Probably your involvement will improve the situation if you do it right. We're going to get to that. But remember, your job is not to fix this and to clean up all the messes. I don't think you possibly could clean up all the messes. And that's okay, because it's not your job. How you feeling right about now? A little better? Hopefully that's a relief to realize, oh, it's not my job to do that. It's not my job to do that. One other point, that it's not your job to make sure that anything. All right? Connect with that. You know how you might finish that sentence. Oh, I need to make sure that whatever. I need to make sure that my spouse is happy. I need to make sure that the ex doesn't interfere with the kids. I need to make sure that I'm an effective disciplinarian. Whatever. No, it's not your job to make sure that anything. That should be a relief as well. All right. Now that we got you feeling all relieved, what is your job as a step-parent? It's pretty simple. Your job is to love them no matter what, and even if. Big surprise if you've watched this channel very long. Look at the positive parenting playlist. We repeat that time and time again. This is your job. Whether you are a natural-born parent, adoptive parent, a step-parent, whatever, this is your job. To love them no matter what, and even if. There's some challenges when you come into this as a step-parent because there's already patterns established, and there are relationships that existed before you ever got here. As a parent in this home, you get to take part in all of the roles of parenting. Discipline. Some step parents I talk to are way hands off on the discipline. Understandably, because if that's not done correctly, it can cause friction and conflict in the relationships. And the kids are already kind of struggling bringing someone else in. So you're going to take part in the discipline, but we're going to do it in a way that we have parental authority. This is the part that I've been promising to get to for the whole video. This is how we're going to step into the discipline role, the nurturer role. Every role that is relevant and applicable to a parent will be supported as you understand what gives you authority. The fact that you carry a title as a parent, even if it has the word step in front of it, does not give you any authority. Here's what gives you authority, and this comes from solid research that showed that there are two components to authority, and here's what they are. Component number one, you have to be able to set and enforce appropriate limits. Have to be able to set and enforce appropriate limits. If you can't, you don't have any authority with these kids. How do you do that? First of all, focus on what you control. You'll feel frustrated and angry and resentful if you get yourself into areas that you don't have any control. And watch for those three feelings: frustration, anger, and resentment. When you feel those, it's probably because you're getting into an area where you don't have any control. Get your mind steered back to what you do control, and then you can use that appropriately in the discipline. You have to be able to set and enforce appropriate limits. Now, there's another important part to authority that is probably equally powerful, sometimes overlooked. You have to be seen as a provider of good times and good things. Be seen as a provider of good times and good things. We got to be having fun. Honestly, if you come in and do discipline without being seen as a provider of good times and good things, you don't carry any authority with these kids. Oh, they may obey you from time to time just to stay out of trouble. But what gives you the true authority as a step parent is if you are personally seen as a provider of good times and good things. Notice this is not just an extension of your spouse. Your spouse may already be seen as a provider of good times and good things. The fact that you are now married to their parent does not give you automatic authority. You've got to earn that. So we've got the two components. You have to be able to set and enforce appropriate limits. If you need some help with that, get some help with that. The Positive Parenting playlist here on the channel is a great place to start. The Parenting Power-Up course that Vicki and I put together, that's a great place to go too. ParentingPowerup.com. Go check it out. There's resources, and there's others too, besides the ones that we're providing for you. Figure out how to set and enforce appropriate limits. And then that second part, you got to be seen as a provider of good times and good things. Lighten it up. Have some fun. Show the kids that you can be someone that is enjoyable and fun to be around. It contributes to your authority. Your job as a step parent can be a whole lot of fun. You can have authority with these kids. You can be seen as someone who is important in their life. You're not replacing anybody. Remember what we talked about what your job is not, and I think you can get there. This whole step parent thing, probably not for the weak of heart, right? Hopefully you found this helpful, and if you're new to the channel, click right down there below at that big button to subscribe, because we would love to have you be part of our family here.
I saw her standing in the street alone.